Well, if they didn't hear it, they didn't. I guess they'll be fine. I don't want to do it again.
Okay, be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of the council of the municipality of Dysart held on March 14th be approved as presented.
Can I have a resolution to adopt the agenda? Okay, Carmen, Tammy, all in favor? Carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Being none, then we'll have an adoption of the minutes. Yeah,
Be it resolved, the council approves the following meeting minutes as circulated, regular meeting of council, February 28th, and public meeting, February 28th.
I'm a mover and a seconder. Barry and Nancy, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. I don't think there's anything to report from the county. Walt, do you have anything from the county?
No, I don't have anything right now, Murray.
We're still working on, of course, the shoreline. That
Shoreline,
decision's going to be made in this month, I believe, at the county. Who's going to do that at the county level? And of course, the cottage rental, still a big issue down there and taking more time than we would like, but it's the way it is.
yeah, we're gonna have to spend a couple more meetings on that for sure.
Okay, I guess we could do fire now. Is Dan here?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm here. Sorry for the delay. Thank you for having me. Just a quick report here. Common, as I send in every month, just an idea of what our calls are. You can see we had 30 calls for the month of February, which is more than a call a day. At the bottom of our sheet there, you can see that we're right dead on with the numbers we had for January, February of last year. A little different combination of what the calls are this year. We had several more general smoke alarm calls, alarm activations. And actually, that was a result partly of the cold weather. We had several calls that we ended up attending because unfortunately people had freezing issues, and once their pipes thawed out, the water got into their system, activated the alarms. So just a curious little difference that way, but still we're going same numbers as far as our totals for the year. Another note, we've been able to successfully hire a replacement training officer for my previous position. Happy to say we were able to do that internally. We have 3 excellent candidates step forward, and we've chosen Deputy Chief Stacey Parrish to take on that position, and she'll be starting with us at the beginning of April. And then this time of year, we get into tax season. And this is when it always comes forward that we see how much time that the firefighters have put in as volunteers for the municipality. So I just put that there as an extra note to see that over 14 firefighters have provided over 200 hours, working hours. So that's 5 full 40-hour work weeks over and above their regular jobs that they're volunteering at the municipality. So collectively, over 6,000 volunteer hours for the fire department. So I just like the general public and you guys to be aware of how much time and commitment that our firefighters have, and if you get a chance to say so to them, please say thanks. Any questions on my report?
No, I think that's a good stat to point out to us, and certainly they're a valuable asset to our municipality, Dan, and I hope you convey that message to them.
Will do.
Okay, any
you
other
very
questions
much.
for Dan? Okay,
Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of the fire department report for February 2023.
have a mover and seconder. Walt and Carm, all in favor? Carried.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rob coming in. Oh, Rob and John.
Good morning,
Okay.
Mayor, members of council.
All right.
I just have a quick report here, just an update on our winter maintenance. So things are starting to wind down a little bit. It's a bit of a sluggish start to spring, and I mean, it's going to hang around for a little bit yet. One thing I do want to point out for council is the seasonal load restrictions will be in place on Friday. That's going to be county-wide. So that's been advertised on all the municipal websites and social media. So you'll see some signs start to get flipped on Friday morning.
I guess the way it's thawing and freezing, I guess that's probably gonna happen.
Yeah, and this is a little later than we generally have them on. So, I mean, in February, it started to get a little touch and go there, but I mean, it's still cool at nights, but I mean, you got to pull the trigger at some point. So it's there's a lot of heat in that sun.
Okay, have a resolution then?
Be it resolved that council receives the February 2023 winter maintenance update report as information.
Have a mover and seconder? Pat and Tammy, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Waste management summary, John?
Good morning, everyone. So this is a report that summarizes activity for the month of January 2023. In terms of vehicle count, we had 23.72% less vehicles in January 2023 compared to January of 2022. The report also summarizes some of our blue box garbage and construction demolition waste tonnages. We had 4.83% more blue box tonnage in January 2023 compared to January 2022, 22.44% more garbage. And we did no construction demolition waste hauls in January 2022. In 2023, January, we did 3 hauls of 109 metric tons. So in total, that represents a 68.4% increase of waste that we hauled in January 2023 compared to the previous year. But it should be noted that we did not have that 109 tons of C&D in January 2022. In
So the
terms
car
of,
count is down, but the garbage is up.
and the garbage being up is not unexpected because we are hauling garbage out of West Bay landfill, which we were not doing in January 2022. So we would have a slight increase there of garbage as well. It'd be small, but we did have some garbage coming out of that site.
Okay,
And then in
Any
terms of
questions?
revenue and expenses, we've broken out the revenue. We had a decrease from January 2022 to January 2023 in total disposal fees, but we have to keep in mind we also had less vehicles coming on site. Our blue box hauling was comparable. However, the processing costs have increased. The garbage hauling and garbage disposal fees increased, as did obviously the hauling of C&D and processing of C&D, as we did not do that in the year previous in January. It is hard to look at just 1 month in isolation, but this will be a report that we'll be bringing to each council once a month, so you can kind of see how these numbers change over time.
okay. Any questions for John on that?
Just a question, I don't know if you or Rob answered this, but where are we at with the weigh scales and stuff like that? Is there any movement on anything in that regard?
Yeah, so we've had a meeting with our environmental consultant, JP2G Consultants. They're working on the revised site design plan, which we would then be presenting to council later this year for review. At the same time, we're beginning some conversations with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, letting them know about our proposed changes to the site to get approval to add scales in the near future.
Okay. Is that what you wanted, Barry?
Yep.
Okay, okay. Could have the resolution then?
Be it resolved, the council received the January 2023 waste management summary for information.
Mover and seconder? Barry and Nancy, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Blue box update.
All right, for this one, I'm just going to share my screen so you can see a PowerPoint to summarize some of the information I'll be presenting here. This all relates to the blue box transition and Ontario Regulation 391/21. This is the third time that Dysart's Council has received an update on this blue box regulation, but the first that perhaps this council makeup has seen it. Just to take us back to the beginning, in 1983, the first official Blue Box program started in Kitchener, Ontario. The Blue Box is actually an Ontario invention. Subsequently, municipalities across the province implemented blue box recycling programs for their residents, and municipalities funded their blue box programs entirely through the municipal tax base, and in some cases, the sale of recyclable materials. The way the current program works is that in 1994, Ontario Regulation 101-94 was passed, and that required municipalities with populations over 5,000 people or more to establish and operate a residential blue box program. Subsequently, in 2002, the Waste Diversion Act was passed at the provincial level, and that led in 2004 to the Blue Box Program Plan being passed. That Blue Box Program plan required municipalities to fund 50% of the Blue Box costs, and the producers of printed paper and packaging to fund the other 50% of the Blue Box costs. Municipalities are responsible for arranging their own blue box collection and processing contracts under the Blue Box Program Plan. And then each spring, municipalities across Ontario report their Blue Box Program Plan costs to the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, which is an authority appointed by the province to manage the data of these programs. And then subsequently, Stewardship Ontario, which is an organization that represents the producers, then pays the municipalities for their share of the program costs. Municipalities have long argued that they are covering more than 50% of the Blue Box Program Plan costs, and municipalities have also had no input onto what type of packaging producers were bringing into the marketplace. So having to deal with packaging that the Blue Box perhaps was not set up to manage properly. At the same time, producers were consistently unhappy with the overall Blue Box Program Plan costs, feeling that municipalities were ineffective at managing this program. The producers also felt they had no control over the program costs, but were responsible for paying 50% of that. So this takes us to the new program that is coming into effect. In 2021, Ontario Regulation 391-21 was passed. This new regulation has three main objectives. One is to expand the Blue Box to more communities, including First Nations communities and municipalities maybe not covered under the initial 5,000 population threshold. The other objective is to standardize acceptable Blue Box materials across the entire province. So everywhere in the province, this list of acceptable materials will be the exact same. And third, this regulation would make producers of paper products, packaging, and packaging-like products financially and operationally responsible for the residential Blue Box program. So they would be covering 100% of those costs. This regulation is coming over a transition period. So starting this July 2023, the first of the eligible communities start to transition, and that includes the City of Toronto and the City of Ottawa. Dysart transitions on January 1st of 2024, and the other Haliburton County municipalities all transition in 2024. The final eligible communities transition on December 31st, 2025. And then what is called post-transition starts January 1st, 2026 onwards. Circular Materials is a non-profit producer responsibility organization, or a PRO, that represents the vast majority of producers. And therefore, Circular Materials gets to create the rules of the new Blue Box Common Collection System in compliance with the regulation. So just to give you some background on the new program that's during the transition period, starting July of this year to December 31st, 2025. The regulation requires Circular Materials to operate the same number of Blue Box drop-off depots as there are garbage drop-off depots. So in Dysart's case, that would be 5. It should be noted the regulation only applies to residential Blue Box materials, which is called eligible sources. And commercial and organizational Blue Box materials are not included in this regulation. They're deemed non-eligible sources. Circular Materials has issued master services agreements and statements of work for depot collection, promotion, education for the provision of Blue Box services during the transition period. Just some basic points of Circular Materials agreement. Circular Materials would use our existing hauling contract. Our hauling contract for Blue Box ends on December 31st of 2024. We transition the next day, January 1st, 2025. So that contract would probably need to be extended. Circular Materials would reimburse Dysart for the residential blue box hauling and some staffing costs, but based on Dysart's 2020 costs plus CPI and fuel adjustments. And then Circular Materials would arrange for and fund the residential blue box processing. Ultimately, council will need to decide whether it wants to enter into an agreement with Circular Materials. They call this opting in, signing an agreement, or opting out, handing over service. Should Dysart choose to opt in, we would need to meet the requirements of that agreement, such as contamination levels. Residents would be able to drop off their garbage and blue box at this existing depot in Dysart, so it's kind of status quo. Dysart would need to determine how it would manage non-eligible commercial sources of blue box materials. We do have during transition the option of mixing it in with residential materials, but we would take an automatic 3.75% reduction in funding, and that's based on MPAC property accounts. We could choose to collect that material separately at our sites, but self-fund the hauling and processing, either through the tax base or a user pay system, or we could choose not to collect non-eligible blue box materials at our sites. If we opt out of an agreement with Circular Materials, Circular Materials would be obligated to open 5 blue box drop-off depots in our municipality, but they could be anywhere in the municipality. Residents would drop off their garbage at Dysart depots, and then they would go to the Circular Materials depot to drop off their residential blue box materials. We would also have to determine how to manage non-eligible or commercial sources of blue box materials, whether we collect that at our sites, but again, self-fund that hauling and processing either through the tax base or a user pay, or choose not to collect at Dysart's sites. Post-transition, again, there'll be similar idea where we would have an agreement with Circular Materials. Circular Materials would issue its own hauling contract for residential blue box materials. They would possibly reimburse us for some staffing costs, and they would arrange for the processing of the blue box materials. Again, if you opted into that agreement, residents could drop off their garbage and blue box materials at Dysart depots. However, non-eligible sources cannot be mixed in with the residential sources. And so Dysart Council in the future would have to determine how it would want to manage non-eligible sources of blue box materials. If we opted out, again, Circular Materials would have to have those 5 depots. Residents would drop off their garbage at Dysart depots and then go to a different location to drop off their blue box materials. This is obviously a big change to the way the Blue Box program has operated, not only in the province of Ontario, but also in Dysart. What staff are planning to do is in April of this year is take another report to Dysart Council just to explain how our negotiations have fared so far with Circular Materials. And then the expectation is that in May of 2023, we would bring a report with a recommendation either to opt in or opt out of an agreement with Circular Materials in preparation for our transition date of January 1st, 2025. Or 2024, sorry. Any questions on this blue box transition?
Councillor McCartney?
Yeah, is there any idea how this is going to affect our budget? Like, it sounds to me like there's employees involved and like more employees. I'm just curious to know if you sat down and figured out, I know you couldn't tell me not exactly, or even maybe not even consider what the amount might be, but I'm just curious to know how much more is this going to put on our budget?
Sorry, in theory, the blue box transition to the new regulation would not be any change to our budget, as the producers become responsible for managing and funding the blue box program. The challenge is their funding model is based on our 2020 costs. The unfortunate bonus of 2020 is that we had high vehicle counts, high tonnages because of the amount of people here during the COVID pandemic. And so it maybe becomes a bit of a wash budget wise, but in theory, this should not add to our budgets on residential blue box materials.
John, this seems to be, make it more difficult for rural townships, I would think, just looking at it. And I don't envy you the decision to make a recommendation. It's not going to be easy, I think, to know which way to go, but just looking at it, it looks like we might want to opt out. Am I crazy about thinking that?
There are pros and cons either way. There are
Right.
444 municipalities in Ontario that are going through this blue box transition period over the next few years. 55 of them are depot only municipalities. We are very actively engaged with not only our counterparts in Haliburton County, but throughout Ontario to really understand kind of what everyone's perspective on this is. In some of the larger municipalities, they have staff working exclusively on this file because it is so big, and they're using legal teams and procurement specialists to make sense heads or tails of it. I would say a definite concern is asking residents to drop garbage off at our existing sites and take the recycling elsewhere. If that becomes too onerous, does that mean that recycling ends up in our garbage and then we end up with more garbage to haul and process? And so that's definitely a consideration. But again, we'll be taking reports back to council in April and May of this year to kind of set the next stages around negotiations with circular materials.
Councillor Casey?
Hey, John, sounds like a myriad of moving parts, that blue box program, and I agree with Murray. I don't, this is all very well and good in more city centers where they got collection and people aren't having to drive all over the county to get their garbage in a receptacle that seems to be steadily changing in regards to what classification it is. And if the process is there to try and be more environmentally friendly, we're burning more carbon carting our trash from one dump to another, or we're sorting it to a certain degree. And by no means am I not trying not to support the environment, which I am, but I would have to say too that we would opt out of, my own opinion, opt out of that. Let the circular materials people deal with it on their own, because we got, again, if we're having to look after it and you're having to put time into it and everything else, and at the end of the day, the way I understand it, the consumer is getting charged for any costs for circular materials through grocery stores and stuff like that. So whatever we can do to lighten the load for not only the township or the county or what have you, or even the ratepayer, is going to be best for us. And I know I'm saying a lot here, but I for clarity, what are we mandated to do by law that's been handed down by the province? I guess brass tacks. Like, what do we have to adhere to in terms of what they've handed to us? I'm a little bit unclear about that. Or is there?
Yeah, so in Ontario Regulation 101-94, we are obligated to provide blue box recycling to residents because we have a population of over 5,000. However, how that new regulation for blue box kind of interacts with that previous regulation, there's still a bit of debate around that. And I think some of the legal specialists at some of the larger municipalities are looking at that issue as well.
So why don't we keep our guns in our holster here until we figure out what everybody else is doing? Because in typical provincial fashion, they throw some legislature down and with unclear direction, and leave it to everybody to try and sort out. Meanwhile, it's something to try and sort out. So again, if we're spending a bunch of time trying to figure out what they're saying versus letting the bigger municipalities or the bigger townships sort it out, then we follow suit after that instead of spending a bunch of time and money on stuff that might not be fruitful at the end of the day. It's my own opinion, of course, but anyway.
Any other discussion on this? Anyway, John, we look forward to your report, your recommendation.
Mark,
Walt, did you have another question?
No, I just have another question, and I know everybody's tired of me saying it, but it's another example. The time and energy and money that are spent on trying to get rural Ontario into this Blue Box program. Is there nobody in this province for political level have any concern? They're also worried about the environment. Why aren't we talking about incinerating this stuff, spending all this time and energy and money trying to put together this program, which I don't know, I'm not trying to be negative on it, but I can't see it working in rural Ontario. Thank you.
Okay, anything else to talk about? Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council receives this report for informational purposes about Ontario Regulation 39121 Blue Box and impending negotiations with Circular Materials.
Mover and seconder. Barry and Carm, all in favor? Carried. Okay. And this next item, I did have a talk to John and Rob this morning. And in the length of time and the notification, I think they've agreed that it's best to leave it for this year. And then we can discuss it another time. Is that agreeable, John? And
If council is open, I'd just like to present the information, and then council can make a decision on how it wishes to proceed.
right.
So during the budget deliberations, we had discussed about changing some hours of operation at Dysart's waste disposal site, particularly in the summertime. The changes that were recommended would alter the summer operating hours at all 5 sites. So from May 1st to September 30th on Sundays and holiday Mondays only. The changes would start on May 1st of this year. And those changes basically that would be on Sundays and holiday Mondays. Instead of being open from 11 to 7, the sites would be open 10 to 5. The rationale being that we get long lineups at many of our sites prior to opening currently at 11 a.m. as people are waiting to get into the site because they're trying to get on with their day. We get a lot of complaints in the summertime from residents who are trying to access the landfills earlier in the morning on Sundays, and having to wait till 11 is definitely viewed as being a barrier. Also, many short-term renters have to vacate their rental properties early on Sunday morning. And so when sites are closed, they don't have any option for waste disposal. When we also looked at the vehicle counts in 2021 and 2022, only 3.72% of all the vehicles used the sites after 5 p.m. So that staying open till 7 on those Sundays the vehicle counts don't reflect the need for that. Third, there'd be a slight reduction in staff costs by changing those landfill hours. There would also be some staffing payroll efficiencies at Haliburton and West Guildford landfills, as those sites would then have standardized hours throughout the entire year. So the landfill attendants wouldn't be changing hours between summer hours and winter hours. And finally, our landfill identification cards are going to the printer at the end of this month for distribution in the May 2023 tax bill mailing. And so we just need to have those landfill hours presented in those cards when they go to print. So that's the information that we presented in this report. In the recommendation, we are asking council to direct staff on how it would like to implement any changes to summer operating hours at our landfill sites to start May of this year.
Yeah, and I understand the recommendations. It's just the timing, I think, is a little off. So anyway, any comments from councillors? Councillor Boyce? Walt?
No, I think we're talking about reducing. Why don't we just open an hour earlier on those 2 days in the summer? Help the people out, taxpayers.
Especially for Haliburton and West Guildford landfill, adding an extra hour is going to create some HR payroll issues as they are starting to get into kind of surplus hours of work. And I'll just say their landfill hours don't require public consultation in terms of letting people know about changes to hours, but it is definitely something we are open to accommodating. We recognize either way, opening early or opening later, people have strong feelings about that.
So Walt, are you suggesting that Halliburton and West Guilford open an hour earlier than 11 then?
Yeah, but stay open till in the summer, those few months. Just if you're gonna, I don't want to reduce the hours. If the study says there's a lot of people lining up on those 2 days, Sunday and the odd Monday, we'll open them at 10 o'clock in the morning. At that time, I guess somebody's going to get an extra hour's overtime. Is that the problem would be?
So I take it we have to give notice on that if we're going to do that, right, John?
Well, or else just leave it the way it is. It's fine with me too. Okay. Sorry.
We're going to take flack either way. Once you change them, you're going to get flack. So.
I don't want to reduce the hours. Let's put it that way.
Barry, did you?
No, I was just gonna, I was kind of the same. I was wondering maybe if there was a possibility of opening up an hour earlier, then if that's one of the issues. I mean, the only comments I've had from anybody in my ward is please don't shut them down any earlier than what they are. So just wanted to throw that in and see if there was a chance we could open it up an
You know,
hour.
people are creatures of habit and they get used
Yeah.
to going and they go. Okay, any other discussion on that? So what are we doing then? Are we moving? So we'd have to put new landfill dump hours out, so we better leave it alone if we're going to issue new ones with the tax bill.
If you want to, if you're considering opening those 2 sites now or earlier, we can.
And is this just on Sundays and Saturdays and Sundays, or just on holidays? What,
Sunday.
Sundays and
Nope.
holiday Mondays?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So if I change that to 9 to 5 on both of those,
well, it'd be 10, wouldn't it? 11 now, isn't it?
right now, oh, sorry, it was proposing 10 to 5, so.
10 to 5,
So it'd be 10 to 6, is that the idea, John?
10 to 7.
Okay, so with the Halliburton ones, we're suggesting summer, Sundays and holidays, 10 to 5. Is that what's the desired time there?
What, aren't we to 7 now on holiday Mondays?
Yeah, let's not change the 7 o'clock number, okay? The people like, the message that I got over the week was that 7 o'clock, they didn't want to change that. I was just.
Halliburton's open till 7 now? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
That's right, John. It's open till 7 now.
so currently all 5 sites are open in the summer on Sundays, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
So we're moving them on those 2 days to 10,
10 to 7.
to 10 to 7, right?
So if you're trying to do 10 to 7, we'll have to, for Halliburton and West Guilford, we'll have to look at HR to see if we can actually, because that's adding an hour to their time.
We can look at that internally.
Do them all.
Nancy's got a comment, Murray.
Pardon?
Nancy.
In
Nancy?
order to change anybody's hours of work or anything, can you not keep it the same hours and just make it maybe 10 to 6? I mean, everybody has to make some accommodation in their lifestyle to go to the landfill. So 1 hour is not the end of the world for people, I don't think. I know it's inconvenient for many people, but you know, the earlier morning hour is what's important when that's where the lineup is, and it slows the whole process going through the landfill.
Well, I don't think it's such a big issue at Halliburton. We got 3 people out there, so you'd have one open an hour early. I think we could work around the HR, but I don't know what West Guilford, we got 2 out there, John, at West Guilford.
Correct, yes.
So we could do
And
that.
I guess the thing with Kinesis and West Bay, if you open till 7 at the 2 bigger ones, those ones can, if they're going home, they're gonna pass West Guilford on the way out.
Yeah,
still.
they come to one of the others anyway. Harcourt's a little different.
Yeah.
But they're not open 40 hours a week anyway, so it's not an HR problem. Okay,
Murray, hello, Murray.
All right.
Sorry, Murray.
go ahead, Walt.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think if we're gonna make any changes that, I know, Barry had quite a few calls. I know I had a lot of calls from, Barry's ward. And, if we're gonna make any changes, I think we should consult back with these people to let them know, because they were pretty adamant that they wanted the hours to stay with what they were. So if you're gonna take hours away or add hours, could this decision be made the next final council meeting here?
Well, we're not taking any hours away now. We're just adding.
Yeah. That's all that's the message that I got, that they didn't want any hours reduced on those 2 days.
So just however, change it to 7 and 5. Let's go.
Sorry to cause the confusion.
Well, we're not hard to confuse. Anyway, so are we agreeable to change Halliburton and West Guilford then to 10 o'clock in the morning
Till 7 at
to
night.
7 at night? The others are open, the hours are open now, and they can come from one to the other. You okay with that?
Yep, I think that's maybe the easiest solution.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, Rob, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Mayor, would it be best if we defer this report until the next council meeting, and that'll give myself and John to catch up with HR and just see what the implications could be?
Sure, we can do that.
Will that impact your timing of printing or anything?
No, we can make that work. So the next council meeting is March 28th, so we can.
Okay, so we're gonna defer this.
Okay. Let me read it.
Yep.
Be it resolved that council received this report for information about proposed changes to landfill hours of operation starting May 1st, and further that council directs staff to implement changes to summer, May 1st to September 30th, landfill hours starting May 1st. Halliburton landfill summer Sundays and holiday Mondays 10 to 7. I've changed it just to what your direction's been so far. Harcourt landfill summer Sunday. Do you want me to take out the ref? If there's no changes to those other three, can I just cross them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just deferring the whole thing, so I don't think you have to change anything at this point.
We're not proposing, you're not, it doesn't sound like you're proposing you're changing anything other than those two, so they just want to come back with these actual figures. So I think we should be okay. So we got Halliburton landfill summer Sundays and holidays Mondays 10 to 7, and West Guilford landfill summer Sundays and holiday Mondays 10 to 7. And further, the council directs staff to revise schedule. Okay, that's going to, we'll do that on the next meeting. I'm just going to cross that out for now because that'll follow. So
Okay.
we need a mover and seconder
Mover and
to
seconder.
defer it.
Councilor Boyce and Nancy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Was pretty straightforward. Okay. Okay, Andrea, you and your parks, thanks, John, for that, and we'll carry on. Okay, Andrea, I guess you've got Brandon and Nicole there, so.
I do. So I have Brandon and Nicole, who are members of the Head Lake Park Fundraising Committee. They're only two of the members. We do have a group of people that are a part of it. Some of them are still working today, or just for the sake of being on a screen, we figured it was best to have two representatives of the committee. So Nicole and Brandon have volunteered to do this presentation, and I'll let them take it from here. And then if you have questions, I can jump in or they can jump in and we'll go from there. Does one of you, do you want to share a screen?
So I'll go ahead and do that then. Thanks for having us, everyone. Perfect. Everyone can see that? Good. So just to start off, I know a lot of you already kind of know what's going on with the playground, but Nicole and I wanted to kind of walk you through what we're doing, what our plan is, and expected timelines, and kind of what's going on. So I guess to start off, Nicole, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So hi, good morning, Mayor and members of council. Thanks for taking the time to have us speak with you. I'm Nicole Baumgartner, my partner, Brandon Nemagon. We're both local realtors, entrepreneurs, business owners, and we are representatives of a larger collective of community members who are looking to and have been working diligently on getting the playgrounds back.
So when we first started discussing what we're looking to do with this park, it's to pretty much make a park that's functional for everyone, that's accessible to everyone in our community. And that's really been the main goal when setting this up.
So we feel that the playground that we've been working hand in hand with Andrea and the representatives at Park and Play is we're wanting to create a destination playground that is not just a draw for the members of our community, which is wonderful, but this is going to be something that puts Haliburton Village on the map. We think it's important both economically, socioeconomically, for the development of children. The benefits are widespread.
So today is actually the day that we're going live. If you guys have had a chance to read the Haliburton Echo today, there's a nice 3-page spread about the new park and what the plan is. Number one, we created a GoFundMe as the main source of where people can donate. It's easy to share. You can use your credit card. And also the township has volunteered to allow people to come in and pay there if they need a tax receipt. Next step is that we've created a pretty large list of previous donors to things like the skate park and the Rotary bathrooms. We'll be approaching pretty much anyone and everyone that has ever donated to something that has affected downtown Haliburton, plus any local businesses and anyone we personally know that would be a good fit to help us get this park into the real life. We have social media pages starting today, Facebook, Instagram. We'll be posting pretty often on there about updates, what's going on, just keeping everyone in the loop because it is a community involvement, right? This is not just the committee members, it's everyone and anyone getting together to create this functional, outstanding park in downtown Haliburton. Right now, we're looking for a spring install. Depends on the weather, of course. I'm sure you all are very familiar with that, depending on how things thaw and kind of what the seasons look like. Currently, we've secured $300,000 from the lovely township, which is a huge chunk of change for us to start this process. We also have $150,000 from a Trillium Foundation grant. Our park is to get that grant, you need to have a 30% minimum accessibility for kids of all colors, the way I'll put it. So we've reached that, and then we've also secured an additional $50,000 from Rotary, and an additional $5,000 from just our first donor. So we're off to a pretty good start. We have $500,000, goal $600,000, so we're almost there. And yeah. So I heard there's some questions about the size of the park. So this is actually like kind of the specs of it. Along this top side, we're looking about 120 feet. And I think down here, this was 69 feet.
69.
Yeah. So it gives us about a 9,000 square foot footprint for the park. And these were the original renderings. We just got updated renderings on Saturday. They're in the local Echo today, and I could share them with the council if needed. But this is kind of how the park is looking to be set up. On this side, you see this is more like the younger kids section. It's kind of how we described it. Those with accessibility needs and the little kids that aren't willing to go on this big log jam, for example. But as you kind of grow up, you get a little bit older, you start to do these bigger slides. And then you move on to here when you get into those, the 8 to 15 year range. And yeah. Any questions at all, I guess, from council?
No, I think we'll go a little farther. If you don't just mind, just keep on going.
Yep. So that's just another picture of that big log jam. It's a pretty wow feature. These poles some of these poles, they get up to 15 feet tall. So we think that, number one, this is going to fit very well into the aesthetics of that downtown Haliburton Park being surrounded by the forest and the river and the grass. So that was a big feature for us. And that's pretty much the plan right now.
Okay. So is it partly grass then, or is it all sand?
You can't use sand because of accessibility or the safety standards of today. So it's actually going to be an engineered wood fiber, which is the highest level of safety the highest level of safety standards is the engineered wood fiber. So it's going to be about 12 inches of the engineered wood fiber will be the ground cover.
Okay,
Almost
so-
like a
so-
rubber mulch.
So your fund, you're looking to raise $50,000 then?
So right now, so we need an additional, so for our goal, an additional 95,000. We officially launched today, and before we even launched, we had 55,000 secured. So we think that it's yeah. So we need the 95,000 as of today, but our goal was 150.
Okay. Okay, well, I think we're gonna have some questions for Andrea here, but certainly any questions for two from the public committee?
I just wonder if Brandon could stop his screen sharing. I can't see anything except the
Oh,
thank you.
sorry.
slide. That's okay. Thank you.
So there's no questions now, I guess, for you guys. So thank you for the work that you've done, and just we just have some other questions, and we're going to ask those of staff. And we're
Perfect.
pleased that you joined us. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I
Perfect.
appreciate
Thanks
the
for having us.
opportunity.
Okay, I'm confused about the financing here, Andrea. You're going to have to help me.
Yep.
In December, you told us it was $300,000 plus 50 for, I guess, for beyond that. And it was going to be, it included maintenance, and I don't see that now. Do these people come and put this together, or what's going on?
They do the install, they do the complete, so the price is with the installation and everything. They come, so they'll come and do a site visit they're hoping end of March, beginning of April. So when the snow is gone, they'll come and do a site visit, lay everything out. So as the layout that you saw on Brandon's slide might change slightly depending on where, you know, we have the existing swings and everything. So they'll take a look and see, and then they'll come when they come with all their equipment, all of the pieces of the playground, and they do the installation. And that's something that just as far as insurance and liability, it's the best thing to have done is to have them do the installation. Another thing that comes into play is a third-party playground inspector. So once they've done the installation and they've done their checks, then they bring in a third-party inspector who has all their certifications to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed, and that every things are set up properly, and that there's the right amount of compaction within the engineered wood fiber. So it's quite a process. Yeah, so
I guess they know the soil conditions, do they?
they do. They're aware. We've been telling them, and hopefully we don't uncover anything too alarming.
Well, do they have it? Do you know? And maybe you don't. Do they have anything that requires a footing or a concrete pad or anything?
There is, yes, there are some things that require footings. Most playground equipment requires footings and concrete pads. So, yeah.
Well, once you dig 2 feet, you're into the sawdust. So.
And Andrew's been talking with them, and it's Andrew had a discussion with them as well about the depth that they have to go down. It's about 15 inches that they have to dig down. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure on all the exact depths and everything, but that's a discussion that Andrew had with them.
Okay. Well, I guess the thing that surprised council was the zip line, because even in your report in September, you didn't allude anything to that, and I guess
we in the report, like I know we had talked with council too about a timber tower, and that was something that the committee had really wanted. The price of it, just a timber tower alone, not including anything else, would have been $261,000 or almost $262,000. So that was just like use the accessible pieces, have a larger tower, and then do that wooden structure, that log jam, instead of a timber tower, because that can create hours of play for people, and was a lot more affordable. Also in timelines, the timber towers, we would have been looking at a fall to a next spring installation.
So we're up to almost 600,000 here now, aren't we?
We
Oh.
are, yeah.
If they
That's
fundraise.
all in. That's with including site prep work. There's things that right now, there's things that haven't been ordered because we haven't hit that $600,000 mark. There's items that you might see in the picture, like some wobble boards and some of the more individual pieces or the standalone pieces. Those haven't been ordered yet because we haven't hit that mark. We've only ordered what we have the funds for. If we hit that mark, we can add in those, and we've checked time and time again to make sure that they can come back and put those in, that they can be put in place at a later date. The other thing is those things can be ordered. So if we all of a sudden get $100,000 in the next few weeks, they can be ordered and should be here in time for the spring installation because they don't take as long to manufacture as the larger pieces.
Go ahead.
So just to clarify a little bit here on the funding. So we've already committed, Dysert's already committed how much?
300.
300.
They've got a grant for 150 from
Top of that.
whoever. So now they're at 450.
450.
They've already secured another 50, is that right? Through
55.
55. Okay, so really they're looking to gather another $95,000, right?
That's correct.
And they're gonna do that completely on fundraising, GoFundMe, whatever, whoever.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was
Yes.
clear on the funding. Okay, so, but they've ordered according to their budget. So if they get this other 95, they're going to expand this park a little bit or put a few extra things in it. Is that
There's pieces that you saw in the drawing that weren't ordered yet because
right?
they didn't fall within the budget. So those pieces will be ordered. So you see what's there. And then there's other things like benches, shade shelter, items that help to make a playground or a park and spots for, because maybe somebody's bringing their children or their grandchildren to the park and they may not want to play on the equipment, but they need somewhere to sit and watch and everything. So the hope is to add in some of those other pieces that you don't see in the playground.
Okay, and so how about the groundwork? Is it all included in this price that you've got so far?
No, so the 55,000 that was raised could be that, and then those other pieces come later. So that's why that's why the target was $150,000.
And there's also been some confirmation from some local contractors that they're willing to come out and help with the site work too for a tax break, for a tax receipt
Okay,
donation.
So we're gonna have to haul a lot of sand in. Take the sod out, bring sand in.
It's sod, and then it's crushed, I believe the word is, a type of a gravel type material, and then there's a fabric that goes down, and then the mulch on top of that.
So we're gonna be hauling big trucks into the park then. Okay. Would you like to give us, so you haven't ordered the zip line yet?
Yeah.
The zip line's ordered.
Oh, because it didn't show on that drawing we saw on screen.
It's in the drawing. It's really hard to see. And I know this isn't part of the council package, but I did find a YouTube video that shows the type of zip line if you'd like to see it. I just know that it wasn't inserted into the agenda, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show it.
Yeah, you can show it if council's interested.
Well, I just want to know the details on the zip line. There's a liability maybe here. We don't want a liability. We want to make sure it's safe for little kids. And the fact that we didn't know about it, I think is a surprise to everybody. When you hear a word like zip line, it gets your attention. Because
Do you want me to show you the video? It might dispel some of the, because there's no harnesses or anything involved. It's just a
Well,
seat.
how long is it?
You'll get it. You'll get the idea of it with just a few seconds. of
Okay,
it.
well, let's have it.
Okay. Just bear with me while I find the
If
right screen.
anyone's ever been to the Stanhope Park on Halls Lake, it's very similar to that. If you're too heavy, your bum hits the ground. I know, because I sat on it.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Sorry, what do you, I have 3 screens. So I want to make sure you're seeing the right screen. What do you see on your screen?
A ramp with 3 people and a little kid in the
Okay.
middle.
Perfect. I'm going to hit play on that one then. So this is the size of the ramp. And that's how it operates. So it's not very high. It's a seat. They can choose to sit or stand on the seat. They have them at quite a few parks throughout. It's something that's popular. They've put them in recently, like in Bay of Fundy National Park, and they have two different styles there, but there's one at like as Tamara mentioned, at Stanhope. It's one of the most popular features at that park. People drive quite a distance. Anybody with kids seems to go there to go on the zip line. So that's what it is.
So they have a seat, they sit in the seat. Do they get is there a seat belt on them or anything to hold little kids in?
It's just
No,
a
it's
rope
because
with a
if they
desk
can't
on the
hold-
bottom that you sit on.
They sit on it, and if they can't hold on, they're not going to go on it, or they have a parent run with them. But it's meant to, like, you're not going to put a 2-year-old on it because they won't be able to hold on to it. It's meant for like that 5 to 12 year
Might
old.
be surprised what people do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
okay, so
They all do pass the Canadian safety standards with all this equipment in terms of for its age use and everything else. That's all been very carefully checked.
yeah, I understand all that. So have you talked to, you're not concerned you're taking any area of the park that's going to affect, like, we have some projects in there like the Rotary Carnival, and we got Art in the Park, which is the fundraiser for the year that keeps the Rails End Gallery open. We don't want to take away any of their space.
well, and Lori Jones is actually going with a smaller model of Art in the Park. She's doing the same model that she did last year, so she uses less space. That's the way she's planning to move forward. They're fully aware that there's playground construction taking place. It should be done well before either of those festivals come in. I have warned them that I don't know what state the ground will be in, because obviously when you're bringing in heavy equipment, there's an impact. So that being said, though, they're working in the playground vicinity. They're not working over where on the other side of the flower beds or around the path in the other areas. So
I think he means long-term for setup too, like it's not impacting the space.
No, it's not.
they use for
It's
their-
it's on a similar footprint to the playground that we have. We gave them the aerial images and the dimensions of the existing space. There might be a slight orientation shift, but again, it won't impact Rails End Arts and Crafts Festival or the Rotary Carnival.
Okay. Okay, is there any
And for
other
them,
question? Walt, you got a question?
Yeah, needless to say, we're all in favor of anything for our youth, especially to get them outside playing and safe. But I'm wondering, like, this is the very first time, other than the gossip I've heard on the street about there's a zip line coming in. I knew all about all the other stuff. And like, I know myself, I would feel a lot more comfortable if I knew a little bit more about like the structure of this zip line. It must have to be embedded into the ground pretty securely to.
It's just concrete footing, same as any of the other equipment. I would really suggest it's a short drive out to Alvin Johnson Park and Halls Lake. Go out and have a drive. I've been on it with my mother, and she's in her 70s and she has no problem maneuvering it. So there's from all the ones I've seen around with personal experience with kids, I've never seen a danger with this type of equipment. From my personal experience.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that I'm not going to eventually say let's get it, but I just like this is basically the first time that it's come to council, and usually there's a discussion about something like this. That's just like there was with the playground equipment in the last term. I mean, we talked about that many times about what we were going to get, and so that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Well, I think the issue here is that I don't know what happened in the last council, but I know one thing. This is a decision that's going to be made for 25 years. And I think this council has to justify it when they go out and the decision's made. So we certainly want to be informed. So I hope, Andrea, the message is that we need to be kept in the loop on these things. We don't want to know everything you're doing, but we want to know something that has like last month, we dealt for half an hour with a project that is only going to be in the park for one weekend. Here we're spending $600,000 and council's not aware of everything that's going in the park. So I think that's a huge stretch, and I don't want to see it happen again. And I don't think council does. So I think I'm speaking for them. If not, they can speak up. But so if we get that message, I think we'll work better together.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we do? Receive this report or?
Yep. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the delegation from members of the Headlight Park Fundraising Committee, providing an update on fundraising efforts for the new playground in Headlight Park.
Okay, Tammy and seconder. Nancy, in favor? Guess it's Gary, this goes. Okay. Okay, recreation programs and events.
So we're on a roll with registration right now for youth soccer, ball hockey, and women's soccer. All the registration, and the New to You community art sale. The registration is going really well. We're soon going to put a hold on the youth soccer registration, see where we're at as far as teams and how many more spots can be opened up. We're also looking for volunteers for the youth ball hockey program. We have had a couple come forward, but we need a few more. One of them being a former ball hockey player himself, and now he's coming back to volunteer as a high school student. So that's quite exciting for us.
Any questions or concerns with that? Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council receives the recreation programs and events update report as information.
Mover and seconder, Perry and Tammy, all in favor? Carried. Okay.
So this is a
28
fun.
Next one.
Yeah, so the 28 days of fun has wrapped up. That was run through the month of February. 206 activities were completed. We had really good feedback from this program. Obviously, being a first year, it takes time to get people aware of it. But I've included some comments, which you can read from some of the people that did take part. We were quite pleased with the results and look forward to doing this again next year with possibly some changes, maybe adding in a family day excerpt and maybe just partnering with some other areas. But our winners were Laura C, who won one of the prizes, and then Kara O, who won two of them. So what happened is for every so many activities you completed, your name got put into a draw. And then at the end, we drew out names. So that's why Kara had completed all the activities. So her name was in there quite a few times, actually. But we like to thank the Haliburton Public Library and the Haliburton Highlands Museum for helping us to hand out the books as well, and to explain the program to people who came to pick up their passport books.
Do you have any idea how many different families participated in that?
It was 50 something.
60 something?
Yeah, 50 something. So we had families too where there was multiple members participating, but only putting in one entry. We had people who came up just to visit for a weekend who participated. We had some people who only did one activity to be entered into the draw. They had to do more. And then we had people like Kara who completed all the activities. So, and the age range was young children all the way through to grandparents and everywhere in between.
Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council receives the report regarding 28 days of fun in Dysart et al. As information.
Mover and seconder. Carm and Barry, all in favor? Carried. And then the last events at Head Lake Park.
So this is on here because I received an email from a request from the Rotary Club of Haliburton to waive the park fees or the Welcome Center washroom fees for the Rotary Music in the Park, which is running from June 27th to August. Sorry, that should say 29th, 2023, not 9th. They're running a 10-week music session this year. So last year, council waived the fees based on just the circumstances surrounding last year. Steve's request is attached, which you can read. There is a chart that outlines what the fees would be based on one evening. So In column A, it shows the full fees, which would be $150. Our operating cost is around $94. So there'd be a net of 56. Column B shows removing the $50 charge for 2 washrooms and running at like a break even point, so $94. And then there's another, but it's up to council what they decide to do. There's 3 possible recommendations for this.
What
So
time,
just to-
what, can you tell me what time the information booth opens?
Yeah, the information booth opens at 10 in the morning and they're open until 5 p.m. So last year during Rotary Music in the Park, they stayed open later. They actually stayed open until 9 p.m. But this year Rotary Music in the Park is starting half hour earlier. So they're running from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And they were really good at announcing last year during the intermission that if anyone needed to use the washrooms, use them at this time because they will be closing. Last year, they said they will be closing at 9 p.m. So this year they would do something similar, but say they're closing at 8:30 p.m.
I don't want to nickel and dime this, but do the same people that open the washrooms open the information center, or is that?
Yes, so the whoever's in the washrooms, the information center stays open during that time frame. So you have
I understand.
so whoever's there, sometimes last year they would sit out, depending on the weather, they'd sit out front and talk to the people coming by and hand out brochures to them in front. Sometimes they stay in, but there's the washrooms, they'd open 2 exterior washrooms, and then obviously the one inside the Welcome Center would be open because they're in there.
Well, if I were in business, I'd make the decision to somehow find the hours to save the hours on Tuesday nights. So it wouldn't have any impact on taxpayers. And I would forgive Rotary the time for it. So I'm going to leave that with management to resolve if they will. Everybody agrees. So whether you open a half an hour later in the morning, I don't think people are looking for information at 10 o'clock in the morning, very many. So we can do a little bit of research on that, Andrea, and see where we
Okay,
are.
I can try and find that out. Now Tuesdays is the farmers market day, so it is a bit busier.
Well, they start at noon.
They start at noon, but we do have people who've complained because we open at 10. Like last year, there were a lot of complaints that the washrooms weren't open between 8 and 10 a.m. Not so
Well,
much.
the washrooms can be opened by the parks people, though. They don't have to be opened by the information people. Right?
True. We do just have to monitor them because we have had, last year we had some people that tried to use the washrooms for purposes other than using a washroom.
Well, I'm going to say so. I'm having trouble with the information booth being opened all week long now. There's sometimes 3 people a day in there. So
There's only one, there should only be one person a day right now.
one person working, but only 3 or 4 visitors a day.
Oh,
So anyway, that's something we'll be discussing later, I'm sure. Thank you, Andrea. Have a resolution?
Okay, so I have some options here. So I think it's sounding like you want to waive the fees, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure I picked the right one here. Okay, number 3. Sorry. Be it resolved that council waives the Welcome Center washroom fees for the 2023 season of Rotary Music in the Park.
Okay. Resolution, Tammy. Seconder, Carm, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We'll take a 15-minute break. Did you have to go?
Yep.
Are we live? Okay. Okay, is Carl in? Okay, Carl, morning.
Good. Good morning, council.
Good.
Yeah, so building permit report, so typical February, a little higher than usual. Again, you'll notice that septic permits number is up in septic permits. Good reminder that our septic course that's starting next week, registration is still open until Thursday, end of day Thursday. So if anybody's interested in that, it's going to be running above the arena. And registration forms are available on our website.
I think that's being well received. They're going out ahead in time and people are booking. It's good. It's a good program. Any questions on that building report? Okay, resolution.
Be it resolved that council received the February 2023 building permit activity report as information.
Mover and seconder. Nancy and Barry, all in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaw update. I guess, is Rob giving that?
Just good morning. Typical bylaw report. If there's any questions that council has, I'd be happy to answer them.
You've heard this one before. Go ahead, Nancy.
Good morning, Rob. I had several complaints about the stupid arms at the Family Medical Center again last week. I'm just wondering if there's some other way that we can maybe get rid of them. Could we put a X% fee on our tax bill to cover our maintenance of the parking lot and stuff? Because they just aren't working. They take up a lot of staff time, a lot of running back and forth, and there's so many problems with many of our elderly people in the community making it work or getting the ticket to scan. The day I was there, like 5 or 6 people had to all back out of place and somebody had to help the gentleman get out through the gate. So it's just seems to be very inefficient.
Well, it's a good timing with that question, Councilor Roberts. I'm actually working on a report that will bring back to council next month and just provide some options on maybe a possible resolution for this the issue that we're having down there at the medical center. So next month in April, I'll have a report, hoping that I get all back my quotes and stuff like that from all the vendors, and offer up several different options for council on a possible resolution that we can resolve the issues that are going on at the medical center.
I would just really prefer to find some other option to get rid of them completely. Anyway, that's one of them.
That'd be up to council to do and direct me that way if that's something there. That will most likely be one of the options in my report.
So we go to, instead of the gates, we go to something where you get a ticket like you do in most medical centers, right? That's what you're talking about, Rob?
I mean, there's that option there that they can, one of the options I'm going to propose in that report will be a standalone just parking meter in there. So when you pull into the lot, there's no gates, no arms. You would essentially be like parking on the street in the downtown core area, where you park, go to the meter, purchase your ticket for your 2 hours that you're going to be there, and or however long you think you're going to be there, and place it on the dashboard of your vehicle, and pay for it that way is going to be one of those options.
Okay, well, you're going to bring that forward.
Yes.
And I guess we're proceeding. Oh, go ahead, Walt. You had a question?
No, I was just curious, where any word on the Wigamog?
Again, last time you and I spoke, I had an email this morning reassuring me that they've been there for the last 2 weeks, in and out of the site. Myself, I've been there about 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks and haven't seen anything there. So we are moving forward with our RFP, seeking legal counsel questions and to see our options if we do proceed and if they end up coming and starting their demolition while we've done an RFP, what are our legal options we can do. So, I mean, we are moving forward with this RFP right now until we see some sort of great significance on their part to resolve this.
Thank you.
Tammy, you had a question?
Can you go back to the parking when you bring your report back at the next meeting? Could you also let us know how much we paid for that arm and if there is a market that how much we could get for it if we sold it?
Okay. Yep.
Did you not ask about that already, Robert? And they said they wouldn't buy it back?
That company that we've got that we bought those 3 machines from, I did inquire into that and they said they don't purchase back their own equipment. However, I'm still talking with support and hopefully there'll be an option for where they could do something or ask another municipality that has their systems if they needed updated parts or want to use the boxes. So I don't have an answer on that part, but I did have an answer that they don't buy back their equipment. So we would have to either sell it to another municipality that we know, or maybe they can go about their ways of talking to some of their other municipal clients or hotel clients or whichever.
Isn't there a government site that you can put stuff for sale on?
I don't know personally, but it will be something that I can inquire into. Yes.
Okay. We just need a list of all the possible options when you bring that back.
Okay, resolution then?
Be it resolved, the council received the bylaw update report for January and February as information.
Mover and seconder? Nancy and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Okay, now an update on the deer feeding bylaw. It's gonna be popular.
A little bit of background at the December council meeting. Council did hear a delegation in regards to the concern of deer being attracted into the hamlet of Haliburton here and causing some concern for motor vehicle collisions with the deer on the roads. And I know some constituents didn't have contact with myself as well about them eating up their flower pots and gardens and that because they're coming into town more. So at the direction of council, I started creating a deer feeding bylaw that would regulate deer feeding within the hamlet here of Haliburton. And in the summary here, we have some general provisions and exemptions. And also I did attach a possible map that with 4 or 5 options on a boundary that council can decide on if they wish to propose, move forward with the bylaw in place with a boundary line for it. Is there any questions on the general provisions part of it?
Does everybody see the map there? Are there any questions? So when would this take effect again, Rob?
This would be up to council on if they wish to proceed. We can probably have this back to council next month if they wish, and for a final review, and then I can have it sent off to the Ministry of Attorney General for set fines and that, and implementing the bylaw.
Go ahead.
Mayor Carey?
Sorry, Nancy.
No, go ahead.
Rob, all your exemptions and points here, it's all good, I think. The map itself, I kind of think it's maybe just, and I know this is just you putting it out there. This isn't set in stone. That's why I'm speaking up right now. I think it's maybe a little too big. I got some areas there that I think people feed deer in, and I kind of think that they're a safe area to feed deer in, and that I'm just wondering, obviously we can, if we agree to it as a council, we can shrink that area a little bit if we like, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I don't know. I think we need to have a little bit of discussion on that. I don't know what the
And bring
next
back
step is.
some recommendations, maybe.
Yeah, if that's okay.
It's good. That's what we're supposed to do with it. Nancy?
I just wanted to tell Rob, there's a place in Alberta that actually has a very good bylaw and it's pretty specific. And I can actually send you that if you like, just in case it needs to be in more detail before it's actually made into a bylaw and published. There might be some good pointers in there.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So we'll bring that back, and if council have recommendations on the area, I think we should pass them on to Rob in the next month, so that we don't have 2 or 3 meetings at it. And it's good, giving people lots of time for next winter too, so.
Well, then, yeah, if he knows an area that's suggested, we could get it remapped and bring it back for your review.
Okay, resolution then?
Be it resolved that council received this deer feeding bylaw update report as information and further direct staff to bring back proposed revisions to the coverage area.
Yeah, perfect. Mover and seconder? Carm and Barry, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Rob. Carl, we'll see you later, Carl. Finance, Barb?
Yes, good morning. So our first report here is the check summary report for February. Typical February, total vendor payments were just over $967,000. Total payroll was just over $225,000. So total disbursements for the month were $1,192,767.
Okay, any questions on that report and resolution?
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the February 2023 check summary.
Mover and seconder? Nancy and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Tax applications.
Yes, so we have here our section 357 write-offs for the month, and we have a total municipal write-off of $1,647.63. And this here is a combination of demolished structures, and there was one that was raised by fire.
Okay. Resolution?
Be it resolved that council authorizes tax adjustments for applications made under section 357 of the Municipal Act as follows. And you've got it in front of you. Do you need me to read that?
No, I don't need to read that. We've got a copy of it. Mover and seconder? Don't all get up at once. Carm and Walt, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Next, Barb, council and committee remuneration.
Yes, so we have here the 2022 council and committee remuneration report. So keeping with the Municipal Act in section 284(1), the treasurer of the municipality shall in each year on or before March 31st provide to the council of the municipality an itemized statement of remuneration and expenses paid in the previous year. So we have here Schedule A, and that basically summarizes each councillor's per diem and expenditures. So this also includes expenditures paid directly to vendors on behalf of council members. Total payments amounted to $180,453.67.
Okay, any discussion on that? So resolution then?
Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the 2022 council and committee remuneration report as information.
Mover and seconder? Barry and Tammy? All in favor? Carried. Okay. 2023-36.
Yes, so this is a bylaw to impose fees and charges for the provision of communal sewage services. And so the municipality has provided the recommended advertisement, and we've now completed that. Based on the budget recommendation in 2023, the new rate for the annual ERU is $746, and metered sewage is $37.47 per 1,000 gallons.
And that's in line with the projections from the last time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so resolution?
Be it resolved that bylaw 2023-36 being a bylaw to impose fees and charges for the provision of communal sewage services be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too.
Mover and seconder? Okay, Carm and Tammy, all in favor? Carried. And the gas tax, Barbara.
Yes, so here we have a bylaw, being a bylaw to authorize a letter of agreement with His Majesty the King and Right. And this here is for our grant funds related to the Dymo bus. Being a specialized service, we do get some grant money through the Ministry of Transportation. And so we have here the bylaw for the current term of this council. Annually, we do receive grant funds. In 2023, we're going to receive $23,618. And so these funds are typically channeled into the dedicated gas tax reserve fund, and those funds are used for replacement of our Dymo bus. At the end of 2022, we're estimating a reserve balance of $123,020.
So it's almost funding, then it's offsetting the cost, isn't it?
Yeah, typically we use these funds for any capital activities related to the Dymo bus.
Okay, discussion on that resolution?
Be it resolved that bylaw 2023-37 being a bylaw to authorize a letter of agreement with His Majesty the King and right of the province of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Transportation related to funding under the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too.
Discussion, mover and seconder. Walt and Nancy, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Administration. That would be you, Tamara.
So we have a resolution here to appoint.
Barry, is it?
This is Cecil Ryle. Endorse, or we're just endorsing Cecil Ryle on the.
Oh, and Cease, yeah.
Yep. You have the letter there. I don't have it open.
Yeah, no, I don't have it either, but I know it's for Cease, Deputy Mayor of Highlands East.
Mhm. So
He will be very, very vocal on the committee. I have a resolution, please.
Yep. Be it resolved that the municipality of Dysart endorses the municipality of Highlands East Deputy Mayor Cecil Ryle as the Kawartha Halliburton Municipal Rep on the Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee.
Mover and seconder. Tammy and Carm, all in favor? Health and safety policy.
We need to redo these every year.
This is a province thing, eh?
Yeah, legislation. We are in the midst, though, of creating a multi-workplace joint health and safety committee. So we have a number of people being trained in May and June because they have to be certified members to join the committee. After you get more than 20 people in a workplace, you legislated to create one. So that's gonna be going on and we're gonna be busy trying to do some catch up there and. These policies are just part of keeping all our safety boards and everything else up
Yeah.
to date.
You don't want to be not doing it and then get a compensation claim or you're gonna get hammered,
right.
so. Okay, resolution then,
Be it resolved, the council adopts a health and safety policy statement for 2023.
mover and seconder. Barry and Tammy, all in favor? Carry. Okay,
And the same thing for the violence, workplace and sexual harassment policy.
that's mostly geared to staff. What happens if staff harass council?
Oh, I think you're considered part of this policy, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
all included in this.
Okay,
And this also extends
has
to
happened.
committee members, council members, staff members, our interactions with each other. And the public.
and the public. So resolution then,
Be it resolved that council has reviewed violence, harassment and sexual harassment policy for 2023.
mover and seconder, Walt and Nancy. Good, all in favor? Carry. Thank you. So I guess now we're going to go into closed session.
Yeah. So I have a
You
resolution.
need a resolution on that.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 10:45. Is that clock right? Change it.
Mhm.
To discuss matters pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended for the purpose of educating or training the members on planning policy.
Good. Mover and seconder. Carm and Tammy, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so now I guess we can
Up and then you've got
That's all right. Make up somebody else.
I got it.
Thank you, James.
Barry, bring me a sandwich, would you?
We got some meat pie. It's pie day.
Have a great week.
Yeah. You,
We have resolutions coming. Don't go.
All right.
Okay, be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-38 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council held on March 14th, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached here too.
mover and seconder, Carm and Barry, all in favor? No adjournment.
Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting held on March 14th at 12:45 or 11:45 a.m.
Walt, you going to move the adjournment? You're good at that. And Nancy, all in favor? Good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll see you. Drive carefully.